Viewers, welcome again to the Coach's Desk with host Coach Minzy, and we have some breaking news that we'd like to share with our viewers out there at this moment. Now, Coach's Desk just ended a live, and we're speaking about Damari Gray and Leon Bailey and his move to Bayer Leverkusen and how impacting that would be for Gray playing for Jamaica. And we spoke about the ills of not being able to participate in sports by the students, by the professionals in terms of competitively. Now, on the heels of that live stream, that video that was done, we got a breaking news notification that the government approves resumption of sports in Jamaica. And that is some good news for the nation at this point in time. However, it has restrictions to it. So it's not just resumption of sports and all is well and we can go back to our merry way. Right? It is on a case-by-case basis. And this announcement, like I said before, was done a few minutes ago in a press release by the Ministry of Sports. Now, the ministry says that provision for resumption has now been included in the Disaster Risk Management Enforcement Measures Order. And that's the Sports Minister, Olivia Grange, says under the order, organizers of sporting events must, and I emphasize, must first send an application to the Director of Sports in the Ministry of Sport. Now, what she's alluding to is that it will be reviewed when the application is sent. It will be reviewed to see that it meets the necessary requirements that are outlined in this order and transmit in the Director General of ODPEM, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, end of quote. Now, if the ODPM is satisfied with the application, and of course this will have to be with consultation from the Ministry of Health, the venue is appropriate, sanitization, wearing of masks, distancing protocols will be strictly observed. Then, if all of that is in place, people, the ODPEM will approve the application for the specific training and or competition to take place at a specific place and time. This is the process that we all must follow in order for sport to get back in full swing. No, it is a very strict order, people. Pay attention. The order stipulates that sporting events may be held only at venues that are enclosed by perimeter fencing, so it's not a kaba thing, where there is access to proper sanitary conveniences, and at places that are conducive to certain appropriate security measures. Now, the minister said that no spectators will be allowed at sporting events or training sessions at no point in time. So this will be a run, but it will exclude spectators. Now, the announcement incidentally comes just 46 days before the proposed date for the start of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships to be held over 5 days at the National Stadium in Kingston. The Jamaica Football Federation also announced in January that it hopes to start the Jamaica Premier League this month. Alright, so after hearing all of that, people, I would love for you to comment down below. What are your thoughts about all the process that needs to take place in order for this thing to come to fruition? And each sporting organization or federation has to take care of themselves individually. Okay? Now, this is how the application process goes, people. there would be a first period to begin with, February 1 to February 28. And these are how the provisions are going to apply to the respective sporting events. Now, a person wishing to hold sporting event, the organizer, of course, like I said earlier, they'd have to submit their application upon approval for the director of sports, and then all the necessary paperwork will have to submit to the director general, right? And the director general will do due diligence, due process, and then it will definitely decide if this thing has the appropriate measures for it to be held. So upon receiving the application, the director general may, if satisfied after consultation, like I said earlier, with the Ministry of Health and the different personnels, then they would be approved. Where approval is given under sub-paragraph B, let me get back there. Okay, sub-paragraph B, the Director General shall send a copy of the approval to the Director of Sports in the Ministry of Responsibility for Sports and to the Medical Officer of Health. Sporting events may be held at venues enclosed with perimeter fencing, where there is access to proper sanitary conveniences conducive to appropriate security measures. Now, these are the protocols. So if you are an organizer of an event, people, a sporting event is directed to ensure compliance with the following requirements at the sporting event and all training sessions. Therefore, so if these are not in place, then that simply means something is wrong with your event and it can't be approved. Between each sporting event, sufficient time shall be allowed to ensure the maintenance of the social distancing requirements of paragraph 12b and for the venue and the equipment to be sanitized. All areas for competition and training shall be properly cleaned and all gear and equipment sanitized before the beginning of each session and after each user. No spectator shall be allowed at the sporting event or any training session. Temperature checks of all athletes, coaches, and officials shall be made and documented. Very, very important. So you have to have personnel for these things to be done. Each person at the event or training session should be wearing a mask fitted to the person's face so as to cover the person's nose and mouth, except when participating in strenuous activity or water activity. And the person shall change the mask at least every 4 hours or upon the mask becoming wet. Interesting. So you have to have a lot of mask there. You have to be rotating your mask every 4 hours, especially if you are doing a lot of talking and you feel like the mask has become moist on your face, or if you sweat. There shall be no unnecessary contact between persons, such as hugging, high fives, or touching. Personal items such as water bottles or towels shall not be shared. These are some strict guidelines, and if we just follow these guidelines, people, it will be smooth sailing. Now, each person at the event or training session shall wear a mask. Yes, we said that before. Cover up the mouth, right? Except if you are doing any strenuous activity. All promotions for the event shall contain references to the COVID-19 protocols applicable thereto, including specific reference to the requirements for temperature checks, the wearing of masks, sanitization, and social distancing. Signage is important and specifying the applicable COVID-19 protocols. So you have to have signage round and about the event area, including hand washing procedures, and social distancing requirements shall be conspicuously placed throughout the venue and the training areas for the sporting event. It is very important. Now, the points of entry to the venue shall be separate from the points of exit, which is very critical because you don't want a back and forth. Restroom shall be clean and sanitized at least once every hour. So you have persons there going to be working right throughout. Audible public announcements urging compliance with the requirements of this subparagraph shall be made at least every 15 minutes. People, it's all in your hand. The government has made the provision. It's now for you to follow these guidelines and protocols that are set out to ensure a successful resumption of sporting activity across the island. Each individual federation and organization have to make their own application. So no one can say, oh, track and field start and football can't start and table tennis can't start. No. You will make your own application, and you, based on your requirement, what you send in your application, and if it is following the guidelines that the personnel, the health ministry and the Ministry of Sport is setting up, then you're good to go. Simple as that. I am happy that things are back out and running. I'm sure and certain that Coach's Desk will be giving you footage of what is transpiring at these events. Thank you again for tuning in to our breaking news on the government approves resumption of sports.